Hello, everybody, and welcome to Butterscotch Rewatch. I am Katie, the Gen X mom,
And I'm Ireland, the Gen Z daughter.
and today we are going to be going over The Monster Squad. The Monster Squad was made in 1987. It was directed by Fred Decker and written by Shane Black and Fred Decker as well. Shane Black is also the writer of Lethal Weapon, so that's where he's from. It does star Andre Gower as Sean, Robbie Kiger as Patrick, Duncan Rhaegar as Dracula, and Tom Noonan is Frankenstein's monster. So let's go ahead and get into it. Movie starts off with letters coming down the screen, kind of like in the Star Wars fashion. And it says 100 years ago, Dr. Abraham Van Helsing and a small band of freedom fighters tried to save mankind from evil. They blew it, is what it says.
What a good start. Solid start.
So they pan into 100 years ago, and it's Dracula's castle, and you see Dracula hanging. He's a bat. He's hanging from the rafters, and he turns into a human being and jumps down. And then you see Van Helsing and his mob coming to the castle. They storm inside the castle, and Van Helsing is like, we have 3 minutes, let's go. There's an amulet sitting there, and there's some kind of vampire bride just eating a possum. So just randomly eating yes. She's just chowing down. So then they hit her with a stake and she's dead.
And that's it for her. That's it.
That's it. That was her whole shining moment. And then they bring in a younger girl who starts reading an incantation out of it's a scroll, and she starts reading it. And the more she reads it, it gets windier and windier, and then it opens a portal, and things start flying into this portal. You see like these skeletons. They're coming up from the floor. They're attacking everybody. Guys are flying inside the portal. The girl that was reading the incantation, she flies into the portal. And then we see Van Helsing is wrestling with one of the skeletons, and then it just cuts. We don't see what happens to him. He just was wrestling we don't see Dracula. We don't see anybody else besides the people that flew into the portal. And then it cuts to modern day.
Yeah. So now we're bringing into the actual fun stuff here. So it kind of takes us into a school. What are they? Middle school age? Almost
Their middle
like,
school,
younger middle school, like 5th, 6th grade, maybe. And it takes them into two friends, Sean and Patrick, who we kind of talked about earlier, when we were introducing characters and stuff like that. And I'm assuming a teacher or principal or something has them in their office and they're in trouble because they weren't listening to their English teacher or science teacher. I forget which one it was, but they were drawing instead. And what they were drawing were their own creations of monsters. So this is kind of when we first hear like, oh, well, we talk about in our club, our monster squad, right? So they have like a club where they get together and they talk about these things. And we were only introduced to 2 people. Then we cut into outside of the school. I can only assume this is like recess or like as soon as school got out.
School.
Yeah. And we meet our bestie bud Horace, but he is getting confronted by these 2 people or 2 younger boys that are bullying him and just kind of calling him, well, his nickname is Fat Kid, unfortunately. So they say, "Hey, fat kid, like what do you got? Like what's wrong with you?" Trying to go
why
ahead.
are you so fat kid? They just keep calling him fat
Yeah.
kid. We're only going to call him
Yeah.
fat kid for this scene, and then from now on he'll be known as Horace.
Yeah. And he goes, "I just have a glandular problem." I'm like, "Oh, poor man's." But he's eating a Snickers bar, and one of the bullies, takes the Snickers bar from him, throws it on the ground, starts stomping on it. So, that he probably paid a lot of money for that Snickers bar, all 16 cents or whatever it was in 1980. Then we see this mysterious junior high kid pull up, and he looks like he's a greaser from Greece. Like absolutely 100%. He's got the leather jacket, the leather boots, he's got the dark sunglasses on, the dark hair, he's got like the little slick back and everything like that. And this kid is supposed to pass as like a 7th or 8th grader because he's in junior high.
Mhm.
And the first scene that we see is he's lighting something off of his boot to light his cigarette that he's smoking. Again, an 8th grader. And he's basically splitting them up, right? He's saying like, "Hey, like what are you doing to my friend over here? You guys got a problem, you know?" And then he, because he's so much cooler and has that authority, he tells the bully or one of the bullies to pick up the candy bar and then eat it because, he took it from him. So, he's going to give him some payback. And then Horace just feels like indebted to Rudy, who is the really popular, cool guy.
Right.
The 8th grader smoking a cigarette.
Yes. Um, so of course Horace is like the coolest thing. He thinks he's the coolest thing because Rudy saved him. I'd also like to mention that Rudy, even though he's a greaser, smoking and everything as a 7th or 8th grader, is riding a banana bicycle. Just want to put that in there.
Only in style.
Yes. Those were the greatest bike seats though. You had so much room. You could like fit a friend on there too. That was those
Oh
are always
my
good seats. Good
gosh.
old seats, not the ones that go up your butt crack. Uh, those were good. So Horace meets up with the other kids, Sean and Patrick and all them, and he's like, "Can Rudy join the Monster Squad? Is it okay?" And you see Rudy like in the back, kind of by a tree. I think he's smoking.
Yeah, I think he's smoking again, leaned up by a tree.
And they're like, "Well, he'd have to go through the test. We'll see. We'll see, you know." And so they have to put him through the test, but the kids are all standing, so it's all the boys, and then it's Sean's little sister who's Phoebe. She's like the cutest
The
thing you've ever.
cutest, most
Oh,
adorable
she's
thing ever.
so cute with her little
Just wanna pinch her
pigtails.
little cheeks.
They're in front of this like, this older house, and they call it Scary German Guy's house. They're like, "Scary German guy lives there." And Phoebe says, "I heard he kills people or he killed people." And
Uh.
then Horace turns to her and goes, "Get out of here, Phoebe the Phoebe." And then she's like, and then she like runs home by herself. She's like
Poor
5 or
Phoebe.
6. She
Yeah,
runs.
she's a young little baby.
Yeah. So then we cut to an airplane scene. So it's two guys in this like big old cargo plane, and they're like, "Oh, I don't like these kind of planes because there's like dead guys in the back and crates and all this weird stuff." And then they hear like a thump. So the one pilot's like, "What was that?" And he goes in the back to check it out, and he's looking at the crates, and there's a bat back there. So he's like, "Get out," swatting at it. And as he's turned away, you see Dracula, become human, and he's standing next to this one particular crate, and the guy gets smacked across the plane, and at that time he takes the handle, which is like the ejector handle, and it makes the box drop because he thought the guy was going to drop with it, but he doesn't. He just floats. Dracula just floats in midair, and he turns into a bat, and then he just like goes through the hole, and that's plane the plane scene. They're just,
Uh-huh.
what happened here? And so you see a couple of crates fall into this like swamp area or a lake, and then they just kind of sink to the bottom. We get back to Sean at Sean's house. Sean and Phoebe come home, and Sean's mom says, "Oh, I bought you this book at a garage sale." And Sean looks at the book, and it's Van Helsing's diary, and he's all
Uh-huh.
excited. He's looking through, and he's like, "This is so great. This is so great. This is so in German." And it's written in German, so he's really bummed out that this official diary written by Van Helsing himself was in German. And then we cut again to Dracula. Dracula is driving his car. He has a car.
Even though he can fly, it's fine.
Even though he can fly and change into a bat. So he's in his car, and he stops by the swamp area, and he literally gets out of his car, and he's like, "Let it begin." And then you see all this lightning and thunder and everything like that. And that's him activating the monsters. And that's when we cut to Sean's dad, Dell. Dell is getting ready to go out with the mom. They have a counseling session that they need to go to. And they're getting ready. And Dell gets a call saying, "I need you at the station right away." So
Mm.
he looks at the wife and she's just really pissed off. He's like, "Can you
Yeah.
reschedule?"
Yeah, you can tell, and they kind of hint this into is that Dell, Sean's dad and the mom are having like problems because they have marriage counseling. That's what the appointment is
Mm,
for. And before this whole thing, right, Sean comes up and is like, "Hey, I want to go see a movie. Like, please, like, I'm gonna go see a movie with my friends." And he's like, "No, you have to babysit your 4-year-old sister." And of course, Sean's like, "But dad, I want to go out with my friends, whatever." And eventually, he's fine with babysitting his little sister. But again, the dad's like, "Me and your mom never get to do this. Let us go and whatever." And then, yes, he gets his call from work. And basically, everyone at the police station is erratic because there is this guy who is like, "I'm going to turn into a wolf," and kind of just calls himself like the Wolfman and is like throwing people around because he's like, "No one's taking me seriously. I need to be locked up. Like, this is serious." And then he's kind of like fighting against these police officers, even though he
mhm,
wants to get locked up. But, so he's like throwing people through windows and stuff. And, Dell's like, "Okay, I have to go in." And then that's when the wife kind of gives him the disapproving look like, "Well, I'm important too." And
mm.
she doesn't know that, hell's all about to break loose here. So,
Yeah.
I mean, Dell is answering a serious call.
Mhm,
Yeah, and then after that, we kinda cut back to that scene where Wolfman's kinda going crazy, throwing people through the glass and stuff like that, and a police officer does end up shooting him. So then we kind of cut into an ambulance scene where we see, like, this poor little, like, I don't know, he's a young guy, like,
mhm.
20-something-year-old. He's got his little headphones in, he's jamming out, he's driving the ambulance because it can't be fun driving dead bodies around, or he's
Right.
driving it to the hospital or whatever. And then we see, of course, the infamous we're cutting to a full moon in the sky, and then you
What's
end up
gonna
seeing
happen?
you end up seeing the little changes, and it turns out this guy isn't crazy, he's actually a wolf man.
Mm,
So he like starts getting like the hair on his knuckles and stuff, and then like his little feet, like the claws pop out of his shoes and
mhm.
stuff like that. And then unfortunately that is the ambulance driver's demise where he kind of gets attacked by that
Yes.
wolf man. And then we can kind of see them get called to the scene then.
Mhm. And Dell, which is Sean's dad, he gets his call is not at the police station, his call is to the museum where a 2,000-year-old mummy has just disappeared. And they're all trying to figure out who took it, what's going on, weird stuff. They have the one guy at the police station that's like, "Lock me up," and gets shot and killed. And so Dell says 2,000-year-old dead guys do not get up and walk away themselves. And then it cuts to the street and you see the mummy just walking away, like walking down the street. So that is that's what's happening right now. So this is what Dracula did when he activated said "Let it begin." He activated the Wolfman. He's activating the mummy, and then we're gonna soon find out what was in those crates.
Dell eventually does get back home and he's got some fast food, and all we see is Sean on the roof watching from the roof watching through binoculars the drive-in movie that he wanted to go see earlier in the day. And his dad comes out and joins him, which is like, why is he on the roof? He's supposed to be watching his 4-year-old sister. But I mean, okay, I digress. But maybe she's in bed already.
Maybe
I don't
she's
know.
sleeping. Yeah.
But dad kind of comes and joins him, hands him a burger and all that stuff, and then they just, are just sharing that moment together. You can tell that dad and Sean are pretty close.
Hmm.
Just they have a lot of interests and stuff like that. But then also we cut back to the lake here, or the bog, whatever area, where, we see Dracula back at the lake again in his car, and we see like some bubbles kind of pull up. It's Drac and the mummy. So they're starting to
In the
build
Wolfman.
their and the Wolfman. They're starting to build their squad again, right? And then we see like some bubbles coming out of the lake, and then eventually we see a box, and it says Frankenstein's monster on the box, right? And then
Mm.
underneath is the gill man, or like the sea monster kind of guy that pops up with him. So now like the gang's all here except for Frankenstein's monster is still, unresponsive in the box. So this is when Dracula takes, which is like crazy that his cane has all these things. It's like the utility belt for Batman, but he starts like taking out these two like little plugs, that they attach to the metal pieces in Frankenstein's monster to like almost resurrect him, right, to, like, shock him, and then he, like, sticks his cane in the sky. Again, it's lightning outside.
It's
I
a
don't know
lightning
what
rod.
I
It
know.
turns
Oh,
into
yeah,
a
it's a
lightning
lightning
rod. Yeah,
rod.
it turns into a lightning
Yes.
rod. His
And I
cane.
don't understand, like, and it's a stormy night, right? So why is Dell and Sean sitting on the roof during a lightning storm? I
Literally
don't know.
lightning.
I don't
Literally
know.
lightning.
But all the people are the driving in their cars in a lightning storm too, so I don't know. But again, then the lightning strikes, and then eventually Frankenstein's monster does wake up from the lightning strike. So now the whole gang is back together.
When Frankenstein resurrects, Dracula's saying, like, "It's been a long time, friend."
Mhm.
And then Frankenstein's monster looks at him and goes, "Long time, master." And he gets up because it seems like Dracula really does have a bond with Frankenstein's monster. So it seems
Mhm.
like that's like his favorite monster kind of thing. When he did the whole Frankenstein bolt thing, which the bolts for this particular Frankenstein's monster is in his head, not in his neck. There's a reason for that. We'll go over that. And when he activated Frankenstein's monster, it took the power out of everything.
Mhm.
So the whole place went out, and so it's dark everywhere. And we cut to Eugene, who's the little guy. He's the little I think he's the youngest one besides
Mhm.
Phoebe's not really in the Monster Squad,
Yeah,
but
but he's
he's
definitely the youngest boy in the monster
with
squad.
with the dog, with Pete the dog,
But Pete
and
the Beagle.
his dad comes in, and he goes, "What?" And he goes, "There's monsters in my room." So the dad's like half asleep, and he's like, "Okay." And he opens the door and he's like, "All right, monsters, I see you all. Get out, get out, get out, get out." So it's like
Yeah.
they're
Which
supposed to
I
be,
appreciate your
yes,
enthusiasm, but
instead of just saying, "Go back to bed, kid." And he does that, and then he's like, "Is that good enough?" And he's like, "No, he's in the closet." So the dad opens the
yeah.
closet, and the way that the dad opens the closet, he can't see into the closet, but Eugene is literally staring at the mummy in his closet. The mummy is in his closet, and he's like, "No, okay, all of them are gone. Okay." And Eugene's like this the whole time. And the dad closes the door and he goes, "Okay, they're all gone." And Eugene's still like this. Dad leaves, and then Eugene goes like this. And you
Mhm.
see the mummy crawling out of his window.
Yeah, you just see, like, the leftover cloth, like, coming out of the window, basically, because he just escaped his house.
Yes, he's so cute. Yeah, he's just the cutest kid.
He is so adorable.
So after the mummy leaves Eugene's window, they cut to the mom tucking in Phoebe. Phoebe's all tucked in with her little pet Scraps, which is a little dog. The mom lights a candle next to her bed and just lets the candle in a 5-year-old's room, just lets the candle burn. I don't think there's anything around it. I think it's just like a regular candle, if I remember correctly. Fire
Mm.
hazard, but okay. And then Sean is downstairs, and he sees that there is a message on the message board for him, and it is from a Mr. Alucard, and he's inquiring about the diary that the mom got for him at the garage sale, the Van Helsing's diary, and would possibly pay him money. So Sean's like looking at it, and he's like, "That's weird." So he starts writing the name on a piece of paper, and he's like putting like Levi, trying to figure out what else it could spell. And it's Dracula backwards. So he writes Dracula, and he's like, "Oh my gosh." So he calls an emergency meeting of the Monster Squad, and everybody's there. And Sean's like, "I think there really is monsters, and they need to translate this book to figure out what is going on and what activated these monsters there." Eugene, cute little Eugene, he goes, "Mommy came to my house. That's it." They totally ignore Eugene, like, "Okay, whatever, Eugene, whatever." This poor little kid. And then this is now we go into Dracula's mansion, his rundown mansion, and he's talking to Frankenstein's monster.
Mhm. Yeah. And basically what he tells Frankenstein's monster is that the kids have his book. That book is very important, obviously, because they don't want to get sucked back into that portal, right? So it's very important that they get that book back. And these kids have it, and you do whatever you need to do to get the book back, even if that means for the kids to die. So again, and then we kind of see as these kids are, in the treehouse, right, and they're kind of convening. Phoebe the Phoebes gets kicked out of the Monster Squad meeting because it says, what does it say? No girls
Girls
allowed.
Aloud. Hmm.
So no girls allowed in the Monster Squad. And she's like, oh, I forgot what she said. She's like, Mom told you that it was going to be like, something, whatever. I have to be let into the club. And basically they're like, screw you, Phoebe the Phoebe.
Yeah.
And then they kick her out. So she's just kind of playing with her toy animal scraps by the little pond underneath the
Treehouse.
treehouse, and now Frankenstein's monster is now emerging from kind of like the shadows. He just starts like lurking out of the trees basically. And meets up with Phoebe at the lake.
Yep. And the boys have all gone to they're standing outside of Scary German Guy's house, and they're like, he's got to speak German. He's the only one that can help us." And they're like, "Well, what if he kills us?" And the one kid goes, "How do you say please don't kill us in German?" And then from behind is Scary German Guy who literally says, "Please don't kill us in German." And the kids are like,
Yeah.
"Oh." So the kids are inside Scary German Guy's house, and the German guy's holding like a knife, and he's like, "This is your last chance for some more pie." As he's cutting into
Yeah,
a
he
pie.
has like Pepsis all around and he's got like cherry pie. Like he just is like the perfect host.
All the kids are eating the pie. And he goes, "Oh, where were we?" And the Scary German Guy just sitting on the couch with the book, and he's reading from the book. And he's telling the kids that every 100 years at midnight, an amulet can become vulnerable to evil. And if this incantation isn't said before midnight, then the amulet will break
Mhm.
and evil can rule the world, basically. And they need a virgin to say these words in order to open the portal that would suck in all the monsters, kind of like we saw in the beginning, that exact
Uh-huh.
portal. And then Scary German Guy's like, "And tomorrow would be 100 years." Shocker. So the kids got to get to it. They have to
Yeah, gotta
somehow.
get going. So after the kids are back from Scary German Guy's house with that delicious cherry pie that they were all eating, we cut back to Phoebe and they all meet up in the street and Phoebe's just like, hey guys, like look at this. I found something, right? And all the boys turn and it's actually Frankenstein's monster
Mhm.
that's walking behind her. And then they all like run and get scared. Like even Horace is hiding in a trash can. And like
That's right.
there's like just like but like all of them are still seen. So they're not even doing a very good job of hiding. They're all just like kind of crouched down across the street. And Phoebe's just like, "No, guys, it's really okay. Like he's friendly." And then like he comes up to her and she's like holding his little finger and she's like, "Hey guys, don't be chicken shits. He's friendly." Like it's just like she's just so adorable. You can't get mad at her for swearing.
Yeah.
And and then we cut to just a nice little montage because now we know, or all these boys know, that these monsters are real and they are coming into town, right? Because now we have proof. And luckily Frank is a nice little friendly addition. So they're all kind of in the
Treehouse.
treehouse and like Phoebe's like, "Don't worry guys, I'm teaching him English." And of course it's like the little like just like little like taglines like bogus and like cute little, just like the little
Yeah.
trademarks that were popular at that time.
Mhm.
And they're playing like dress up and stuff like that. So, Frank is keeping Phoebe very amused.
Yeah, and inside the treehouse, there is like a camera that points towards Patrick's sister's bedroom window.
Perfect.
Frank like looks at it and he's like, he clicks the button and it clicks, so he gets scared and he goes, "Bogus." And then the kids give him like, "Oh, here, look at this," and they give him a Frankenstein's monster's costume, and it's the old school plastic
Mhm.
mask with the string, and he looks at the face and he's like scary. He doesn't like the face and he like throws it to the side, and it's
Yeah,
like
he's just
it's
a sweet little guy.
yeah, and he doesn't want to be
It's a
scary.
softie.
And back at the mansion, which isn't really much of a mansion, it's literally a rundown big house that's falling apart.
Yeah.
Dracula is looking with the Wolfman. They're looking for the amulet, and he goes, I think it's right here. He could like feel the walls, and he takes a pickaxe and he goes to the wall, and of course there's the amulet shining. And he's like, all right, we found the amulet. This is great. And then we cut back to the kids and they have a plan. And this is the whole montage.
Yeah.
It's a whole montage of them trying to get everything together.
Get prepared. And this is probably one of my favorite parts too, because we cut to Rudy being in school, right? And he's in a wood shop class. And like his teacher's just like walking around, like looking at everybody's birdhouses, right? And Rudy shows him his birdhouse. It's immaculate, it looks like a shoebox. And then like on the side, he's like sharpening a wooden stake to prep for, Dracula. And then I don't know how, but they're also welding in this shop class. Like they're in 7th and 8th grade and they're like
Mhm.
melting down metals and welding and things like that, which is very dangerous. But he was also creating silver bullets that we know, obviously.
The fact that they have a mold for bullets in this
Yes, that
7th and 8th
too.
grade class was a little
Yes.
scary.
And then, again, Rudy's basically pulling the weight on this club, right? He's the
Yeah.
newest member, but he's pulling all this weight. He's stealing archery sets as well, so he can get like a projection for that stake and all of that nonsense.
And of course, Eugene is doing his part. And Eugene has a big piece of paper and he's got his crayon and he writes, Dear Army guys, come quick. There are monsters. Eugene. And then he folds it up and he puts it in a little envelope. And then Pete the dog licks the envelope and he sends it off
Mhm.
to the army, I guess.
Yeah,
Eh,
so from here, we just see some cute little things, like Frank is playing dress up with Phoebe as all the boys are, like, scrambling, doing their part, trying to get prepared for all of this nonsense, right? And Phoebe's just, making a good friend out of Frank, and we just see
mhm.
that little bond grow a little bit. But then back to more serious stuff. Again, we go back to Drax, whatever's left of his cranky old mansion, with Wolfman, who is in the human form, and he's sedated, tied up.
When the Wolfman is in human form, he is a sympathetic human. He doesn't
Uh-huh,
want to do anything bad. So Dracula has him sedated in his human form and tied up so that he can't go away and warn people of what's going on because he's in his
uh-huh,
human form. So he wants for the moon to come out so that he's a Wolfman and then he's like the bad guy. And when Dracula goes, I'm gonna go have a little snack. And
uh-huh,
we see the Wolfman, like, pretending to be all, like he's all, like, woozy, and then he spits out all the pills,
uh-huh.
and he unties himself, and he runs. He runs
That's
out
right.
of there,
Yeah,
and
because what he does is he, runs off into and gets into a payphone on the street. And he calls Sean's dad, but I don't know if he calls like the sheriff's
he
number or
calls the
something
police
like
station,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
the police
Dell
station.
answers.
And he's calling and he's saying that, there's danger around, there's monsters around, and they're coming for his son specifically. They're coming
Mhm.
for his son. And again, Dell is kind of like, okay, like this guy is just crazy, whatever, kind of shakes it off. But then there's still a part of him where anytime you bring up, family, it gets a little bit too real.
Yeah, he doesn't believe he says, "Send every single police officer you have to Dracula's house."
Hmm.
And then Dell's like, "Okay, whatever, dude." He's like, and then he goes, "He's after your son. He's gonna kill your son." And once he says he's gonna kill your son, then Dell's like, "Okay, I'm gonna go check that out because now you're
Uh-huh.
mentioning my son." So that's kind of what um happens. But as he says he's gonna kill your son, there's the full moon again. A lot of full moons.
Yeah.
And he turns into the Wolfman while he's like, he's gonna kill
Uh-huh.
your son. And he's like, "Argh." And for Dracula, when he says he's gonna go get a little snack, his snack is he goes into the pantry. I guess there's a pantry, and there are 3 women waiting in the pantry. That's his
Perfect.
snack, is these 3 poor girls. They look like maybe sorority sisters or
Yeah,
something. They're like a
definitely.
they're young, but they're like college aged, it look
Yeah.
like. And of course, when he gets in the pantry, they're like, ah. So that's what we
Mhm.
see. Those poor they're going to be known as the pantry girls. That is literally what they are credited as, the pantry
Oh
girls.
god.
And then we shoot back to Sean, Eugene, Horace. We're just going to call Frankenstein's monster Frank from now on.
Yeah.
Frank and Pete the dog. They're all down by the water. And Eugene and Pete are actually on the water's edge. And Pete jumps and he knocks, Eugene has a Twinkie and he knocks the Twinkie out of Eugene's hand. He's like, thanks a lot, Pete. And then as the Twinkie floats, the creature from the Black Lagoon, or Gilman as he's credited
Yeah,
in this
Gilman.
movie, yes, he pops up and he grabs the Twinkie. And as everybody's talking, he goes up to Sean and he goes, creature stole my Twinkie. And Sean's like, whatever, dude,
Huh?
okay. He's like,
First of all, poor Eugene's had so many encounters with these monsters already. Mummy in my closet, creature stole my Twinkie.
Eugene,
What's
yeah.
next? Poor Eugene.
Poor little Eugene. They just don't believe him because he's so small.
He's just a little guy. Yeah, so this is when we kind of fall into an awkward conversation because remember, to read the incantation of the German diary from Van Helsing, they need a virgin to read this. And of course, these boys, who do they ask? They ask Patrick's sister, right, if she's a virgin, but they can't just come right out and say it, right? It's just Rudy and Patrick, like the two like most interesting people to be asking this question, I guess. But I guess it's not really a great question anyway. And they have her in the treehouse kind of cornered, and basically they can't get the words out. And then Rudy just comes out and goes, have you ever been dorked? Like, what are we talking about? What?
The 80s.
And she's just like, how could you ask me
Excuse
that?
me?
Yeah. And they kind of just, and then they just kind of assume that she's a virgin, and then they go on after that, basically.
Well,
But then we,
they
oh,
blackmail her into
yeah,
helping them because she takes German in school. So they're like,
yeah.
of course, we need somebody who speaks German that's a virgin.
Uh-huh.
And after asking if she's been dorked, she's like, no, and I'm not going to help you. And then they show the pictures
That Frank accidentally took.
Frank took because Rudy got them developed as he was making silver bullets and stakes.
Yeah.
It was a 2-for-1 deal. So he's like, I got a
Yep.
2-for-1 deal of this. And she's like, so they basically blackmail her into
Mhm.
helping them. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then we kind of end up again transitioning here that Frank and the whole gang are outside of Drax's mansion. And Frank's little spidey senses are tingling. He goes, oh my gosh, my master is near, and master wants to hurt the kids. Like, he wants to
Mhm.
hurt you guys, basically. So that was kind of him having his warning. So everybody goes into, or the boys go into the house. And the boys, I mean, like Patrick and Sean. Or no, it was Horace, Patrick, and Sean, right?
It's everybody but Rudy and Patrick because
Right,
they're
because
with
they're
the
with the
sister.
sister. That's right. So
Yeah.
it's Horace and then Eugene
Sean.
and Sean that go into the house with Frank. And as they're going into the house, they kind of are confronted with Dracula blowing up part of the house with dynamite because he's trying to find this amulet.
Yeah. Trying to get to the amulet. And he's got the old school, like, push thing for the
Yeah,
TNT.
the like sticks of dynamite.
Yes.
Yeah.
And when Frank walks in, he's so heavy that Dracula hears him and he looks up. And as he's looking up, the handle like goes down and
Uh-huh.
blows up and everything starts falling and a whole bunch of the stuff, because this house is so dilapidated and old, it literally falls apart and everything falls on top of Frank.
Uh-huh.
And the kids are like, get
And
up,
he's
get up.
unresponsive. Yeah.
Yeah. And they're worried that he died. And Sean's like, well, if he's dead, he died saving us, and they want to go look for the amulet. So they head on down to look for that amulet.
Yeah, and as the boys are looking for that amulet, who comes up and starts cornering them? Wolfman. So Wolfman comes up, and like this is like the first appearance that like the boys have had with him. And basically Sean's first instinct to get the Wolfman away from Horace is kick him in the nards. and and then Horace's response is, man doesn't have nards, because remember, this is the whole conversation they had towards the beginning of the movie, right? Because he's wearing pants and all this stuff. And then, because he's coming closer, Horace does kick him in the nards, and then
And it
whispers to the
works.
camera. Yeah, and it works. He's hurt. And he kind of looks over the camera, goes like, Wolfman does have nards. Like, these
Wolfman's got
one-liners,
nards.
these
Yes.
these one-liners are so good in this movie.
And like it cuts to Patrick, Rudy, and the sister waiting for they're waiting for the boys to give them the okay on the walkie-talkie. So they're waiting, and Rudy's kind of getting a little worried, like it's past 10 o'clock. And the sister goes, maybe the monsters got them. And everybody goes, "Maybe the monster's got them." And she's like, I just like that little
So
one-line
funny.
thing. There's always gotta have something. They gotta have some kind of one-liner in there.
Mhm. Exactly.
Um, and as the boys are running, because now they've ran from the Wolfman, so they're
Uh-huh.
running from him, and they go down another hallway, and who's there? The pantry girls. The pantry girls are there, but they're no longer the pantry
Eh,
girls. They're the
they're now vampire girls.
vampire pantry girls, and they're all like walking
Yeah.
so slow. They are so slow. It's like the Austin Powers when the steamroller and the guy's like, "No." And it's
Yeah.
like so he's like, "Literally, get out of the way." It's like that. So they're like, "Oh no, can't go down that way." And then they look and then Dracula's coming down the other way. And so they're like, "Oh my god." So they're stuck because it's the three and they're like stuck against a statue. And Sean's like, "There's got to be a way. Haven't you seen these old movies?" And he pulls the arm of the statue, and they all fall down into the basement area.
Yeah. And lo and behold, what they're trying to find is the amulet, right? And when they fall into the basement, they kind of like are like, oh my gosh, where the heck are we? They go and Sean sees a little bit of glimmering in the room next to them, and it ends up being the amulet.
Mm.
So he does grab the amulet. And then who do we see right away? Drac. He comes down, confronts Sean, and tries to grab the amulet out of his hand. And then Horace somehow just grabs a random half-eaten piece of pizza out of his pocket or
Mhm.
somewhere. I don't
Yep.
like, but like, thank God for that because we all know about garlic and vampires. And Horace basically slaps Dracula with a piece of pizza in his face. And he obviously starts burning
Mhm.
because of the garlic in the pizza. And Sean's like, garlic. Like, why didn't I think of that? But again, pulled it out of his pocket. I don't know where that pizza came from, but it came in clutch. So now then the boys finally make it out with the amulet and then they come out and they say that they need to go to a church. And again, one of those one-liners, like Sean's just like, "That's a great idea. Monsters hate religion." Like, what are we talking about here?
Yes. Yeah, when they run out of the house, they have Phoebe and scary German guy are waiting for
Mhm.
them in the car, and then Rudy, the sister, and Patrick pull up on bikes, and that's when they're like, "Where do we need to go to do this incantation?" And that's when he
Mhm.
said the church because
Yeah.
monsters don't
Monsters hate religion.
religion.
Okay.
So they all of them hop into the car because obviously that's the most practical instead of riding bikes. And then they're taking off towards the town square where the church is. So they start driving, and as they're on the road, scary German guy almost hits the mummy. So he like kind of swerves a little bit, but the mummy grabs on and he's in the back and he's like trying to get to the kids. Poor Phoebe's the one right in the front.
Uh-huh.
So like everybody's like got Phoebe in the front. Like, here, have Phoebe. And it's like, ah. So Rudy goes, give me some slack. And he takes a piece of the bandage, puts it on the arrow that he had stolen from the archery, the archery club.
Uh-huh.
And then he shoots it against the tree. It catches, and then we slowly see the mummy unravel. And the mummy's like, and he just literally disappears until he fully unravels, and it's just poof, no more
Uh-huh.
mummy. It's just a
Yep.
skull that's like spinning in the middle of the road. So, bye bye, mummy.
Yep. Yeah, take that bandage breath. Like
Yeah,
these
that's
one-liners
what
are
he said. That's
insane.
right. He goes, take that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Rudy
yeah.
goes, "Yeah, yeah, how's that banded breath or something like that." I was like, "Oh my gosh."
He says, see you later, band aid breath. That's
Oh,
exactly what
that's
he said.
right. That's what it is. I was like, "I know it's something good." Yeah, but, fitting right in with one-liners, we kind of circle back to Dracula and his, like, plentiful sticks of dynamite. I don't know where this guy is getting all the sticks of dynamite. And he goes to Sean's house, and his first target is the tree house that all the boys meet in
Mhm.
for their Monster Squad club. And again, with one-liners, he's lighting the dynamite, throws it into the tree house, and then he just goes, "Meeting adjourned," and then it
And it blows up.
explodes. Yes, it reminds me of, like, "Consider this a divorce" from Total
Exactly.
Recall, like,
It's
it's like,
exactly what
what
it
are
is.
these out of pocket, like, one-liners? I don't know, but I love it.
So Dracula is at Sean's house looking for Sean, but Sean's not there because he's
Uh-huh,
at the square. But Dell is on the way to the house with his
uh-huh.
partner because of he wants to kill your son.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's when Dell pulls up with the partner, and
Mhm.
Drac has of course, more dynamite. And Del gets out and he's like, freeze, don't move, don't move. And
Mhm.
of course, Dracula's like, please. And he
Yeah.
throws the dynamite under the car with the partner's in the car. He was in the passenger seat. Now he's
Mhm.
in the front seat, like the driver's seat, and he can't. The doors unlock because it's those old school cars with the big locks that you can
Yeah.
you just like push up or down, and you can see it's clearly unlocked. And the guy's like, I can't get out, I can't get out, and he blows up. So
Yeah.
so Dell like jumps out of the way.
Yeah, and he never gets brought up again. The partner literally never gets brought up again. He just blew up and died. That's all.
Yeah. And then Dell has a showdown with
Mhm.
Dracula. He's like, freeze, don't move. And then after he had blown up his partner, he starts shooting, does nothing. It
Yeah.
literally does nothing to
To harm
Dracula.
him, basically. Yeah, this is when Dracula goes in and says, like, "I will have your son." And then he, like, dramatically turns into a bat and then, like, flies away into the
Hmm.
sunset.
Yeah.
And then, like, Dell just sees his wife come out and his wife's just like, "What the heck is going on here?" Basically. And then he kind of fills her in like someone's after the sun, whatever. And Dell like runs into the house and they have their walkie-talkie or phone. I don't even know what that
It's
was. It's like a
him and his son have a walkie talkie.
yeah.
It's kind of like a fun
And he
father
basically
something.
is like he's like, "Hey, Sean, are you there? Like, please, like, get back to me if you're there." And then eventually Sean does answer, and he says, "Yeah, we're almost at the square," because remember, they are heading
Mhm.
to the church. And he says, "You need to meet us here," basically.
Yep. And then we see Sean and everybody, Sean, all the kids, they're at the town or they're at the town square. They go into the
Mhm,
church. It's locked. So
mhm.
they can't get into the church. So like, what do we do now? And they just say, let's just do it right here in the street. And Phoebe points and goes, look. And then we see the three pantry
Pantry
vampires.
Club vampires.
And they are walking. They're like this, like almost
So
like a
slow.
Frankenstein. Yeah. And they're just like slowly. And then Rudy grabs the archery set and the stakes, and they're like, "Where are you going, Rudy?" And he goes, "I'm in the damn monster squad, aren't I? Or the damn
Yeah,
monster,
"I'm in
I'm
the
in
damn
the
club,
damn
aren't
club, aren't
I?"
I?" That's what he says. I'm in the damn club, aren't I?
Again,
And
he's the only one pulling his weight here.
he
He has, like,
he
been the only one doing things, basically.
he is definitely. So Rudy shoots the first one with the arrow, and it gets her in the chest, and she dies. She just
Mhm.
falls
Yeah,
over.
just
And
gone.
then the next one, I don't know if it takes him 14 minutes to load another arrow or have
Yeah.
but the other one finally reaches him after going like it's like 15 hours later, and
Yeah. Lit
she gets to him, and he grabs a stake and he stabs her, and then she dies too. And so we cut back to Patrick's sister and scary German guy. She's trying to read out of the book. She's having hard time reading the German. She's like, I flunked German, okay? Or I'm flunking German, okay? And the
This would
German
have
guy
been
is,
good news yesterday.
yes. And the German guy is trying to tell her to pronounce like this. He's like, yeah, whatever he said. But like, it doesn't work that way. You have to say the words. You're the virgin.
Right.
So it's just this whole like back and forth thing with that. And here comes Dracula, and he's flying towards the kids. And Dell sees him as a bat, and Dell shoots at him, and he does hit him, and he
Mhm.
flies into it's like a warehouse or an empty building up top. So
Yeah.
Dell goes and follows him to try to find Dracula.
Yeah, so they go into that empty is it the mansion or is it just a warehouse that
No,
they
it's
go
it's just a
into? Yeah,
building
it's
in the
just an
town
empty
square.
building.
It's like
Yeah,
in the
oh, yeah,
upstairs.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's an empty building, and here comes Wolfman again because he's there with Dracula, right, ready to protect him, and it's Sean and Dell that are in there, the dad and
Well, it's Dell
father
at
and son duo.
first. It's Dell at first who wants to blow up Dracula because Dracula is
Yeah,
that gross, like half man, half bat thing.
yeah, and he's hurt.
And then Wolfman, when he goes to throw it, Wolfman hits him, and then
Yeah. Oh, that's right. And then
Mhm.
Sean comes in and Sean just goes, "Hey, asshole." And then the Wolfman looks and he goes, "Yeah, you looked." And then he hits him with the
with the
bat to
bat.
knock him out. Cuz his dad's on the ground, cuz he's kind of getting beat up.
Mhm.
And then when he hits Wolfman with the bat, then his dad kind of can muster up the strength to put the dynamite in his like belt. buckle almost and
Mhm.
then push him out the window, so then he explodes out the window. And then they look around and Dracula disappeared. He's gone. And then when Wolfman blows up, right, we kind of see his little limbs. Very gruesome. I don't know why they
Mhm.
zoomed in like
Yeah.
that. But then we see his like arms and stuff or fingers like start to move, and then he eventually does regenerate.
And Dracula is missing from the loft
Mm-hmm.
or the attic, wherever they were,
Uh-huh.
and it cuts to Patrick's sister, who has finished the incantation finally, and she goes, "Yeah, I didn't think I could do it, but I did it."
Mm.
And nothing happens.
Nothing.
Absolutely
Just
nothing happens.
crickets.
Yes, it's literally crickets, and we see after that, nothing happens. We see Rudy in the street, and he's kinda, like, on his knees because he just killed 3 people. I
Yeah.
mean, that's hard for
Again, he's
anybody.
pulling his weight.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for someone to do that as an adult, but even though they're
Mm.
monsters, but for the 7th or 8th grader, that was a lot for him, and has come down the street, and all the police they're fighting the Wolfman, and he's just throwing them everywhere and all this
Uh-huh.
stuff, and Rudy's just kind of just still in the street, and he crawls to one of the police officers, and he grabs his gun, and he's got his silver bullets that he made, and he puts the silver bullet in the gun, and he points it at the Wolfman. And what does he say? Oh, he points it at the Wolfman, and he just says bang, and he pulls the
Uh-huh.
trigger. The Wolfman goes back, he turns into the human, and he goes, "Thank you." And then he just dies.
Yeah, and then Sean comes up there too, like, he's like, "Oh my gosh," he's like, "Told you there was only one way to kill a werewolf." Because in the beginning, there was a debate, like, they're like, "What are the 2 ways to kill a werewolf?" And Rudy's like, "Just a silver bullet. That's
Mhm.
it. There is no other way." And they're like then they're naming all these, like, impossible things, right? They're just like, "A car crash," like, something really stupid. So I like again, another good one-liner.
And scary German guy is with Patrick's sister. And he's scary German guy goes, "You're not a virgin, are you?" And she shakes her head. And then Patrick goes, or "You're not," he's like, "You're not a virgin." And she goes, "Well, well, Steve, but he doesn't count." And then Patrick goes, "Doesn't
Doesn't
count." He's like, "Oh my God."
He's
So
like,
he's
"You
just,
idiot.
yeah,
Doesn't count."
yeah, he's so mad at his sister right now.
Yeah, and this is when and then we cut to the gill creature, so the Black Lagoon creature comes out
Mhm.
from the sewer, and we see Horace is being cornered, like, by this gill creature. Because again, these police officers, they're all just worthless, they're not doing
Yeah,
anything,
they're
they're all
just
just
getting
getting
flung.
thrown around and killed and stuff like that, so Horace is trying to pull a shotgun from one of the hands of the police officers, and he, like, runs into, like, a window of a store, and then when he looks in the store, it's the 2 bullies that were kicking or stomping on his Snickers bar and calling him fat kid and all this stuff in the beginning. And he's like, "Hey guys, let me in, like let me in," because he's scared for his life. And the bullies are like, "No," like they're scared too.
Mm-mm.
So then this kind of forces Horace to build up the courage, and he does end up getting a clean shot on the gill creature, like right in the chest, and he dies. And the 2 bullies come out. And they're like, "Oh, nice job, fat kid," like all this stuff, and they keep calling him fat kid, and he's like, "My name's Horace," and then he like cocks the gun in like a really like yeah, like just like a very humorous way. I don't know, but good for Horace for building that confidence.
And then we cut to little Eugene, who's with Phoebe and scary German guy, and he tugs on his jacket and he goes, "Is she a version?" Pointing to
They're
Phoebe.
so little and so
Yeah, he's
cute.
so little, he has no idea what it means. And the German guy's like, "Yes, yes, yes." And so he brings her down, and they're like, "She can't read." And he goes, "Don't worry, I'll help her, I'll help her." So
Uh-huh.
he's trying, she's holding the amulet, and he's trying to feed her the German words, and she's doing a really good job of
Uh-huh.
pronouncing all the words that or copying what
Yeah.
he says. And as she's reading with scary German guy, who do we see coming down the trail? We see Dracula.
We see Dracula, and Dracula comes and he sees Phoebe holding the amulet. And he like starts caressing her face at first, and then eventually grabs her little cheeks like this, and then lifts her up and is like, "Give me the amulet, you bitch!" And then we don't like that profanity here because we see Dracula's arm get grabbed, and it's Frank. He came back for her, and he's just like, "That's bogus," or he just says bogus, and then
Bogus.
socks him right in the face, and that kind of puts him onto an iron like gate almost, and he gets like stabbed in the heart with that iron gate. So he's fallen.
And even though the scary German guy was trying to protect Phoebe from Dracula, instead of Dracula just like grabbing him and throwing him out of the way like he did with all the cops on his way to Phoebe,
Mhm.
he goes like this and he shoots some like light out of his hand
Yeah, I
into
don't
the
know.
scary
He
German
was
guy.
he was doing some like photosynthesis stuff. I don't know
Yeah.
what that was about.
And it like blasted him out of the way. And you're like, oh no, is he okay? I don't know. I don't know. And then that's when he comes for Phoebe. And,
Mhm.
and it's just, it was like one of those things like, was that necessary? You could have probably cut that part out
Absolutely
of
it
the film.
was.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meeting adjourned.
Yes. And then so after Dracula or Frank throws Dracula on the wrought iron fence and it goes like through his chest.
Mhm.
Frank goes up to Phoebe and he holds her hand and she finishes the incantation because she's got her buddy there to protect her. And we see the portal opening up and the portal is sucking everybody in. All like the
Mhm.
bodies are going in there, the police officers are going in there, there's fences going in there, just
Yeah.
everything is flying into there. We look at the wrought iron fence again. Dracula's missing. So all the kids and scary German guy are behind the railing on the stairs of the church. Sean is with his parents and they're hanging onto a tree and they're hanging onto Sean. Again,
Mhm.
poor Phoebe is 5 years old and she's by
She's just by
herself.
herself.
She must weigh like 12 pounds.
Right, she's
And
a
if
little
anybody's
baby.
going to get sucked into this portal, it's her. And she's just
Yeah.
hiding by herself. And we see Frankenstein is like, sees Phoebe and he's walking towards Phoebe. He's like, Phoebe. And she's like, Frankenstein. And they're just like trying to get to each other. And we see that Dracula is off of the wrought iron fence and he appears by Dell, the
Mhm.
mom, and Sean and grabs Sean. And then they're just him and Sean are like on the street and they're like slowly being pulled into
Mhm.
into this thing. And Sean grabs a stake and he shoves it into Dracula and Dracula kind of flies off. Sean runs to the kids that are by the church. They grab him and hold him and kind of pull him in so he doesn't get. And what happens to Dracula? Who's waiting for Dracula?
Van Helsing is waiting for Dracula because he just somehow emerged from the little tunnel.
The limbo. Yep.
Yeah, from limbo. And he like grabs Dracula after Sean just puts the wood stake in his heart to finish him off. And what does he do? He gives him a nice hearty thumbs up. Van Helsing from 1880 was literally just giving Sean a thumbs up, and Sean's just like thumbs up approval.
Yeah, he's like,
Um,
great.
Basically some nice reassuring, gives it right back to him. Love that.
And
But
they
what we
float.
don't love is when Frank finally reaches Phoebe at the bench, and Phoebe
Puts her
reaches out to
hands
grab
out.
his hand and she grabs his little finger. And he's really trying not to get sucked in the portal, but eventually again all the monsters do, so he gets sucked back into the portal. But as he's getting sucked into the portal again, very slowly, she throws Scraps, her stuffed dog that means a lot to her, to him, so he can always remember her by. And he's just like, "Goodbye,
Yes,
Phoebe."
he's like,
Like it's so
bye.
cute.
And she's like,
Bye.
don't
I
go,
know.
Frankenstein. She calls him Frankenstein. Don't go,
Yeah, so cute.
Frankenstein. And then the portal closes. And again, poor Phoebe by herself behind this bench.
Right.
And then the mom sees Phoebe and she's like, Phoebe. She's like, Mommy. And then they come and get Phoebe. I'm just like, who is leaving this? I don't know.
Right.
As a mother, I'm fighting through this damn portal thing. I don't care. I'm getting
Mhm.
to my kid. I
Right,
am,
right.
yeah. If I get sucked in that portal, saving my child, so be it. But I'm not leaving my kid to get sucked in. I'd rather be sucked in knowing that my child is still okay than
Yeah.
just sit there and and so they reunite, the family reunites, Sean comes, they're all hugging, yay, happy days. And then who decides to come into into the town?
The US Army comes to town because we remember that our lovely Eugene wrote the note to the army saying, "Please hurry, monsters are coming into town," right? Or monsters are
Mhm.
here.
Yeah.
And they're going around like they're like, "Who the hell is Eugene? Like, what the heck is going on here?" And then with that, then Sean will eventually be like, "Oh well, don't worry, guys, we handled it." And then he hands him one of the little business cards that he made, and it says Monster Squad, and he goes, "We're
Mhm.
the Monster Squad."
Yeah, because the general or whoever, I'm assuming he's the general, he's
Yeah,
like, "Can you tell me what in the Sam Hill is going on here?" After Eugene told him, "Mommy came to my house."
mommy came to my.
And that's when Sean's
Uh,
like, "I think we can, sir," and he hands him the card,
yeah.
and, he says, "We're the Monster Squad."
Mhm.
And then the Monster Squad song starts
And they're
playing.
all celebrating. They're like,
Mhm.
"Yay!" And then
They're
the
like,
credits
"Yay."
roll.
And the
Yeah.
army's just like,
Okay.
just there from a kid that wrote in on crayon, like, "Oh, this seems legit."
Right.
This
The E's,
seems
like, backwards in Eugene, and they're
this
like, "Yeah,
seems
seems
legit.
legit."
Seems legit. Yep, dog slobber on the envelope and everything like that. As usual, I do have some fun facts. Not a lot of fun facts. There weren't too many
Mhm,
that were super interesting.
uh-huh,
So, budget-wise, this had a $12 million budget, and on its opening weekend, it made $1,920,678 on its
oh,
opening weekend. Um, it grossed in the US and Canada $3,769,990. And worldwide, I think it was like 3,771,000. So it was only like a matter of like
mhm,
30,000 overseas. It wasn't
yeah,
really that big. And one of the fun facts is that the actor that played Dracula, so the Duncan Rager, again, can't pronounce names to save my life, but that's what we're gonna go with. He never ever wore the red contacts or his vampire fangs around the actress that played Phoebe. He did not want to scare her. The only time that they did do it because they wanted a genuine reaction was when he grabs her face and he pulls her up and he's like, give me the amulet, you bitch." And then he goes with his red eyes and fangs, and that scream that she does
mhm,
is authentic because that was the first she really was scared. Was that. Okay, and then I said I would come back to the Gillman. They did not have licensing rights to really use the likenesses of the monsters or their names, so they couldn't use Creature of the Black Lagoon, and they had to change things up just enough to get around those licensing rights. So even though they still were like, it was still Dracula, it was still Frankenstein's monster, but Frankenstein had, instead of his bolts being on his neck, they were on his head. So they changed that's the couldn't use the creature from the Black Lagoon, so they called him Gillman. And the Wolfman was never credited as the Wolfman. He was credited as Desperate Man.
yeah,
That was his name, was not it wasn't Wolfman. Even though they do say Wolfman like a million times in
right,
the movie, but the character's name was Desperate Man in the the credits. And let's see. When Dell says uh, dead guys don't just get up and walk on their own is actually from another Fred Decker movie, Night of the Creeps. So that was like an homage of dead guys don't just get up and walk away themselves with a shot of the
uh-huh.
dead guy walking away. So that was kind of an homage to one of his other movies. And then let's see. So not everybody will know what I'll be talking about when I say this. So Ryan Lambert, who played Rudy, is from Kids Incorporated. So those of you that watched Kids Incorporated know that it gave us such fine talents as Jennifer Love Hewitt, Stacey Ferguson, or Fergie. If
Mm.
you remember Martika, she was like the big one.
You're
Nobody remembers
digging in the
Martika.
depths here.
Okay,
I was just
I
gonna say
remember
Toy Soldiers is
Martika.
a great song,
Toy
it's okay.
Soldiers, yes. And I believe, yes, she had another song, Martika's Kitchen.
Okay, queen.
And
Sure.
I think Prince wrote that for her. I'll have to look that up. I think
Love
that was
that.
something I wrote. I think I heard that. I don't know if that's true, so don't take that as truth. And so that was where he was from. Eugene, little Eugene, is the brother of David Faustino, who you would know as Bud Bundy in All My Children. All
Mm.
My Children. Oh my
Married with
gosh,
Children.
Married with
Married with
Children.
Children.
Gosh.
Great show.
Yes. So he's the little brother of that. And of course, since we did just do Teen Witch, Patrick's sister was Randa from Teen Witch,
Mhm.
Lisa Fuller, the actress Lisa
Queen.
Fuller. And the Desperate Man, aka Wolfman, is John Grease, who played Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite. Also, he's also in White Lotus and everything, but we remember him as Uncle Rico from
Yeah, back in
Napoleon Dynamite.
'84, I could throw a pigskin a quarter mile. And it's just like him in the video, like I love that
Yes.
movie.
So those were the fun facts that I could learn about that movie. Next week we will be what are we doing next week, Ireland?
What We Do in the Shadows, the movie. I mean, I love the show too, but What We
Mhm.
Do in the Shadows, it's amazing. I'm so excited to cover it.
Yes. We may do a couple more Halloween ones
I
after
love
we
Halloween.
might do one or two after October just because
Yeah,
there's so many
it's
good
fine
Halloween ones we could
because
do.
there's not really any Thanksgiving. It's fine.
Yeah. Have no idea what character I'm gonna be from character from What We Do in the Shadows. There's so many great characters, but we want to thank you guys again for joining us. And I am Katie. I am the Gen X mom of the group.
I'm Ireland and I'm the Gen Z daughter, and we just have so much fun doing this. So we really appreciate you guys staying tuned with us.
Yes. Yes. Thanks again. And we'll see you guys next week.